Hi everyone, it is currently the 1st of October 2014. Meteorologist Robert Spetta joining you here today. We are continuing the track. Well, now Typhoon Phanfone. It is continuing to intensify, and this storm system likely is going to become a rather strong and intense typhoon before approaching possibly the southern Japanese islands or recurving off here towards the northeast. Now, before I get into breaking down the extended outlook, because that's what the bulk of this update is going to be about, model analysis and the extended outlook, because there has been a lot of debate on where exactly this storm system is going to be going. First, let's talk about it. Well, right now, according to the Joint Typhoon Warning Center, it is a typhoon that is via the U.S. military. Now, they're not an official agency, but at this time, I have to agree with them. This is starting to show very significant signs of being a typhoon. JMA doesn't have it quite there yet. Winds of 111 gusting up to 157 kilometers per hour, but I'm sure by the time I get this video uploaded and you're watching it, it probably is going to be a typhoon by that point. They expect a gradual intensification, though, approaching Minami Daito here as we look ahead my Saturday with winds of 157 gusting up to 222. That's shy of what JTWC is showing, because I also agree with JTWC's intensification on this, because they're expecting this to go up towards about 232, gusting to 278. We're talking about a very intense and violent typhoon if that was to occur, and possibly could be one of the stronger ones here of 2014. So right now, what we're going to be seeing, storm system continuing the track off here towards the west-northwest over very warm sea surface temperatures. You have good radial outflow aloft in the northern periphery and down towards the south. Moisture inflow wrapping around the southern periphery. Sea surface temperatures around 30 to 32 degrees. I mean, we're talking about very warm sea surface temperatures out here. And furthermore, let's pull up the vertical wind shear, because, well, right over the center of circulation, 5 to 10 knots. Perfect for intensification. So I would not be surprised if the accelerator button is hit on this storm system and it really starts to whip up as we look ahead through the next 24 hours. So it becoming a strong typhoon, that is not a question anymore. The big question is this, where is this going? Because I'm here in Tokyo, and I'm actually watching for possible impacts with this storm system. Our in-house model, the Winsum's pulling this off there towards Shikoku, and meanwhile, the ECMWF, one of our more favorable models, actually pulls it over towards Miyakojima. There's three separate scenarios, really, that are setting up here, and the most likely one, at least at this time, may be somewhere between 2 and 3 from what I am seeing, based on what we have been seeing throughout the day today, is a possible eventual recurvature of this storm system. But let's break down, why is there such dramatic differences? Actually, the biggest thing I can show you is the eastern and western outliers, which is actually displayed on our Meteo Earth app. I show you this nearly every update. It's typically fairly good at verifying with the storm systems. The ECMWF is a high resolution model. It's one of the better ones out there. But the Joint Typhoon Warning Center, really vastly different. And even the initialization, currently the storm system is moving at a northwesterly projection. The ECMWF keeps it on a more of a west-northwest projection over the course of the next 24 to 48 hours. Even that slight difference right there could mean a major difference in the long range, and that's exactly what's happening. Let's look ahead through Thursday into Friday and watch the track here. Once this starts to round that subtropical ridge, which is farther off here towards the northeast, once it starts to round it, this is where everything just starts to go, basically, as actually JTWC put it, into a bifurcation, or excuse me, bifurcates at the turn. The GFS and the ECMWF take more of a westerly track, actually right over Okinawa and the southern Japanese islands. They say this right here in their update. For those of you who are saying that they keep it towards the east, well, they do at this time, but they're also just talking about the fact that they're not sure. That says right here, overall low confidence in the track. And let's go back to the Meteo Earth app here. It shows our westerly track here with the ECMWF model, but the GTWC keeps on pulling it off there towards the north. And that's what they're talking about with that split. between the model analysis, because NavGems pulls it off here towards the northeast, and our ECMWF keeps it on that westerly track. So let's take a look at some of the other models. This one's the farthest towards the west, moving in around Miyako-jima, over there towards Ishigaki even, and just south of mainland Okinawa. Also has a fairly intense storm system with an overall low pressure of somewhere around 930 HPA. Just an intense storm. But let's compare this up. We don't want to look at just one model, because that's how you just put your foot in your... Just showing the 0Z run from the GFS model output, pulls it a little bit farther here towards the north. And also, don't want to take our eyes away from the east, because we have another storm system possibly developing behind that. Doesn't look like it'll be impacting the Philippines, but that's something we also want to watch out for. But that one takes it even farther west than what JTWC is showing, moving just north of Okinawa Honto, and eventually moving across mainland Japan, being big rainmaker. Now, as we look at one of the other models, this is the GSM, the JMA model. It actually keeps it farther towards the west than what we have been seeing with the other outlooks, just pulling the eye right over Okinawa Honto. This is the model that's locally run here in Japan. So there's your split, and I'll wrap up with the eastern outlier. This is a NavGem. Our storm system basically taking that easterly track, and it doesn't really even make a landfall. It just gets wrapped up with a passing trough and pulls off there towards the northeast. So there's a lot of scenarios on the table. First off, why are the models split? Well, let's talk about this, because in the upper levels, what we're seeing at this time is our subtropical ridge, which is farther off here towards the east. And I'm going to use the NavGem model to start off with here, because that's the one that's really not taking into account our subtropical ridge. Then we have a ridge over eastern China. There's a passing trough right here. This is what we're talking about when we talk about this, that passing trough with the westerlies. Now, as that continues to track off here towards the east, that trough breaks this ridge down, and it pulls it off there towards the north. So what we're seeing here is this line right here, that's fairly weak, and it allows that turn towards the north. What I just did was switch this over to the GFS outlook. Remember, this one pulls it over Okinawa and the southern Japanese islands. That ridge is farther towards the west. It doesn't take into account our troughing coming in across China, and at least at this time, I don't see any significant troughing in the upper level. Surface low on the scene on the cloud cover here, still developing. It's not that strong. It's actually fairly elongated. We also have a trough over Japan, which is definitely not going to hook this off towards the north. So this is what we're watching right now, and how strong is that going to be once it pushes off there towards the east? And the NavGem's keeping it stronger of these. Now, that I've mentioned this, the models themselves fairly different disagreement on this, because what we see is not just one output, but these are all the lines. All these lines, these are the different outputs which are basically averaged together to get your outlook you see when we show you the map of the weather, I guess, for the forecast. But it's several different supercomputer outputs that are averaged together. Now, what I'm going to show you now, potential for error. Now, this is based on the GFS model outlook, and what it's saying as we scroll ahead by Friday and the Saturday, these areas in the yellows and reds right here, this is indicating how much the model, in short, is not sure of itself. It's saying, you know what, I'm putting an output out there, but I'm not quite positive exactly what's going to be happening here. And as we look ahead into Sunday, it has a lot of gray area over the southern Japanese islands and extending off there towards the northeast. And what it's saying is that it could be anywhere in there. I'm not fairly confident. You can see right here in the first couple of hours, it has a lot of confidence. That's why there's a little bit of air, not really much at all occurring actually. But as we continue to scroll ahead, it continues to increase and really gets quite significant. Actually, very rare to see as much as orange into red on this, basically. About the 13 to 15 millibar difference in the forecast. All that mean, I mean, if you watch this all the way through and you don't quite understand that, it may sound like blah, blah, blah to you, but in the end, it means we're still watching the storm system. We know it's going to intensify, and we have a general idea it's going to be impacting somewhere along the Pacific coast of Japan. It could be those of you in the southern Japanese islands off here towards the north. Right smack in the middle would be where JMA is saying right now, around the Shikoku area. But there's this big model split, and I think in 24 hours we're going to have a much, much better handle on it. For now, though, let's keep an eye. All right, stay safe out there, guys.